there are just 11 changes that you can make to your landing page that have the power to 2x your conversion rate overnight. The reason I know this is because I've helped companies like Parcel Safety increase their conversions by upwards of 80% through these quick wins, and Wild Men Drinking more than doubled their revenue and their conversion rate just by making these small tweaks. So in this video, I'm going to distill what I've learned after building over 400 landing pages in over 80 niches. And I'll literally hand you all of the strategies that you can apply to your own landing page to convert your existing traffic much higher and extract way more value out of every marketing dollar. So let's start with the single most important and needle moving things that you can do for your landing page. And this is something that can increase your credibility and conversions and make people a lot more enthusiastic about your products, which is properly using social proof. You need to match specific testimonials with your exact customer's pain points. The easiest way to do this is to collect customer data via surveys and user testing. Simply just ask your customers, what stopped you from almost buying today? What motivated you to buy today? And collect all of that data and re-inject those insights back into your testimonials and address those exact pain points that they've mentioned. What people also forget is focusing on the most impactful and relevant pieces of social proof that are actually relevant to your customers and to your brand. Slapping a bunch of testimonials on your page about places you've been featured in just doesn't cut it anymore because everyone is already doing it. And likewise, if you only have 30 customer reviews, well, maybe that's something you don't want to feature on your website, and instead you might want to handpick 3 to 4 testimonials that are actually relevant to your audience. For example, if your data shows that price is a major objection, you're going to want to use testimonials that actually address the ROI or the value for money. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. So the first example here is one that we did for a gas mask respirator brand. And what we did was we put these testimonials on all of the key product pages near the product bundles and the add to cart button. And we did customer research and collected customer data through the form of surveys and user testing. And what we uncovered was the biggest pain point that users had was anxiety around, will this product actually protect me, right? From harmful chemicals and from harmful materials. The other big objection that people had was, would the mask, fog up? And so what we did was we strategically placed this testimonial handpicked, and we're focusing on addressing all of those exact pain points in the testimonial, right? Protect your eyes and lungs, protection against sparks and nose, doesn't get filled up with metal dust, and the mask doesn't fog over. This is another example from SoloWave. So instead of just putting logos of companies they've been featured in, they take it a step further and they actually put these quotes pulled directly from the publication, again, targeted around the pain points of customers. My tried and true trick for reducing morning puffiness, I swear my skin looks better now than it did in my 20s, right? Super brilliant and really effective. And one pro tip is that you want to place these pieces of social proof near the critical point of action. As we showed with Parcel Safety, we put it near the bundles and the add to cart. This is another example. The testimonial is right underneath that choose your bundle. And going back to SoloWave, they're putting it right above the fold, statistically where the vast majority of people will never even scroll past, right? So they're building that immediate trust strategically. So go and take this for yourself and use these examples as reference as to where to put your social proof. I think you'll be shocked with the results. Speaking of shocking, here's something that you probably haven't heard before. The human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. So the second super high ROI trick is to use images to the best of their ability and let the images do the selling for you. This is extremely important to take into consideration because the vast majority of users are probably not even reading a single word on your page. We know that people have super low attention spans nowadays and they're just completely skimming by all of the content on your website. However, what I can guarantee you is that the vast majority of people are going to view your images and they're going to make purchasing decisions just based off your images alone. And this is just not me saying this, right? This is based on actual data and research. Every day, we're using tools like Microsoft Clarity to watch recordings of users on your website. And we can see on our client sites where people are just scrolling, they're they're completely skimming by these blocks of text and they're going straight to the images, and there's super high engagement and click-through on the images itself. Your images need to clearly communicate your value prop. They have to get that emotional buy-in from the customer, and they need to motivate your users to actually take action. And since we know that people look at images first, we can strategically place text in conjunction with images to more effectively convey your value prop. So let me show you how to actually use this psychological trick to your advantage. So taking a look at this first example here, on SoloWave once again, all of their product images are helping to tell a story, right? Just focus on this left-hand side here. So this is the first one. They're showing somebody happy, smiling, using the product. And my point about combining the text with the image here, you can see that they've put these high-level benefits via icons and text of why you should use their product. And obviously, they're going to show the transformations, right? The before and after. What better way to show how well the product works than showing the before and after? And every other image, videos of the product being used, just tons of benefits, tons of statistics. It's just really, really effective that if I just looked at these images, I already have enough to convert and buy the product. Here's an example that we did for Wild Men Drinking. So number one, you're presented with just all of these photos of happy people using the product and they're just smiling. It's a fun thing, and you can visualize yourself actually using the product. As you go through each and every one of these images, you can see we're showing how the product's actually used. We're showing it in different use cases here. We're showing how easy it is to use. We're actually showing the portability aspect as well. We're showing the social proof aspect of how it's used with other customers, and all of the different occasions in which you can use it. And these are all selling points. So it's all in the images alone. So if it applies, go and use this strategy on your own page, and I think you'll see some amazing results because images are king. Now on to number 3. This is one of those extremely important, heavy-hitting tasks that on its own can have more impact than every other section you spend your time on. And that is your above the fold section. Your above the fold section is absolutely prime real estate, but most people mess it up, which is pretty strange because you would think that people would focus on this because that's what your customer sees first. If you actually think about it, it's the only section on your website that you can guarantee 100% of people will see. But there's tons of examples of even the biggest brands making these mistakes. In fact, I audited and redesigned the Gymshark website, and there's a video on my channel. And even a company like Gymshark is making so many of these mistakes. You can only imagine how much revenue they're missing out on. So because I've gone so in depth on this with other videos on my channel, here's the formula that we use to consistently drive results to get you quick wins on your above the fold section. So the first thing is a clear value proposition. You need to make it crystal clear who you are, what you do, and what's in it for me. And that needs to be articulated in 5 seconds or less. The last part there is the most important. The what's in it for me. What is that tangible benefit that I gain from consuming your products, and how does it benefit my day-to-day life? The second big thing is a supporting visual that demonstrates your product and service. You need to do your copy justice by having an image that helps to reinforce your value prop. The way I like to think of it is people buy in 3 dimensions, right? You have the emotional side, which is that emotional buy-in. You have the social side, which is how people perceive your product using it in other social settings or how others will perceive them. And you have the functional side, which is the functional benefits of your product. For example, better sleep, less stress. This will depend on your product. Your image should have all 3 of these components. It should get that emotional buy-in, it should have that social aspect, and it should convey the functional benefit. And remember that the emotional part is the most important part. People ultimately buy with emotion, not logic. The third big thing is having a single obvious call to action button, and make that button stand out on the page. If I was to blur out your entire page, that button should stand out as a clear action that you want people to take, and also make it benefit oriented, right? Don't just use something like shop now or buy now. You could do a lot more than that. And the last thing is you cannot have a strong above the fold section without really solid social proof. Focus on building that trust immediately and credibility as soon as people land on your website, and that's going to change the game as far as every other page that they visit on their website as part of their user journey. So here's an example for parcel safety where we did all of these different things. When you look at the before version, their value prop was gas mask, respirator, and fire safety. So they've explained who they are, what they do, but the what's in it for me part is not really crystal clear. Similarly, they don't have any body text here to reinforce their value prop. There's no social proof above the fold, and that button, like I said, needs to stand out. If I blur out everything on this page, it's not really clear what the core action is, right? The CTA button basically competes with all of these items over here versus the after version, that value prop, crystal clear now, protection you can rely on to stay safe. So that's answering the what's in it for me. The body text helps to reinforce that. We're talking about all of the different selling points, sealing to any face size, filters out toxins, fog-free visibility, it's comfortable, and that CTA button stands out. And we also have that all good social proof, the 400,000 plus customers protected. So really clean up that above the fold space and make everything crystal clear for your website visitors. Also, I should mention that I've audited over 2,000 plus websites and landing pages at this point, and I've fixed over 400 plus landing pages. So if you're interested in a completely free website audit where we'll do a deep dive into your entire site and actually mention specific conversion blockers that you can improve straight away, use the link in the description below and book that call in, and I'll do a completely free audit for you. Now onto number 4. Have you ever wondered why some websites look super chaotic and really confusing to look at, whereas other websites just naturally guide you to take action? This has to do with something called visual hierarchy. And if you already don't have someone on your team whose brain works this way, or you're decent at design, this one is really hard to crack. For example, here's a page that's the exact opposite of what you should be doing when it comes to using visual hierarchy. The main issues with this is that everything on the page is just super overwhelming. Everything is capitalized, everything is bolded, there's so many colors, you just have no idea what action to take. I always like to use this graphic when showing and explaining visual hierarchy to clients. You can see a natural flow of information from top to bottom because it's all segmented and it's guiding the user as to where their eye should go. So here's how to solve this and establish strong visual hierarchy. The first thing that you want to do is using size contrast. Obviously, things that you want to stand out more, you want to make those bigger in comparison to things that you want to stand out less. The biggest mistake I see when auditing sites is the headline is so small in comparison to the body text, they almost look the same. People will naturally just read the headline alone, but you're doing a huge disservice to your value prop if your headline pales in comparison from a size perspective relative to your body text. Look at this website here. You can see that headline is bolded. It's a lot bigger in comparison to the body text and it stands out on the page. And typically, if we want to get into specifics, we want to see that headline be 3 to 4x larger than your body text. So normally body text will be 16 pixels on desktop. So your headline should be anywhere from 48 to 57 pixels, somewhere between there. Then as you make your way down, you can see that add to bag button also stands out on the page. It's that pink color. It's separated from the rest of the elements on the page. And they also have their announcement bar, which is pink. So they want that to stand out as well. But they're using color effectively as well. The headline is this brownish color. The body text is more of a grayish color. That color also separates the two elements and it creates that sense of hierarchy. Here's an example of a page that we did for a client where it all flows super naturally from top to bottom and has great visual hierarchy. On the left is the before version. This doesn't have visual hierarchy, right? On mobile, nothing really stands out. The logo is huge. The announcement bar is huge. The button, it's just all over the place, right? The design. The after version, you can see my eyes are directed from top to bottom in a clear manner. So I have that nice big headline there. The body text, right? Which is less bolded in comparison to the headline. The button, which stands out on the page, again, giving it that orange color, and the announcement bar. Those are the two things that we would want prioritized. The contrast against the image also flows really well. This is a great example of visual hierarchy. So just copy these elements and I can promise you that your web design will be infinitely better and your conversions will also increase. Trick number 5 is something that a ton of people don't realize. And it just comes from a lack of knowledge and data that if you don't do any sort of CRO analysis, you wouldn't really know. And that is smart pop-up timing. A lot of websites will make the mistake of immediately bombarding visitors with a pop-up. I'm sure all of you have gone through it as well. You go on an e-commerce website and within the first 3 to 5 seconds, you're hit with a pop-up. This might seem like a good idea at first glance, but it often ends up backfiring. And the reason why is because it's creating friction in the process. These users have just come to the website. They don't even understand yet who you are, what you do. They have no conceptualization of what your business actually even is. And you're immediately hitting them with a pop-up and trying to sell them something. Oftentimes, it's going to lead to them getting frustrated and just exiting your website entirely or not even opting in for the offer in the first place. Here's the good news when it comes to pop-ups. Timing is everything. If you're strategic about how you use your pop-ups, you might get less eyeballs on them, yes, but your conversion rates will also skyrocket. Why? Because you're targeting people that actually care and are ready to act. I mean, we've personally seen conversion increases by up to 125% just by tweaking the timing of these pop-ups. So let me show you a couple examples of how this works in practice. The first one is an exit intent pop-up, which works especially well for first-time visitors. Imagine somebody comes to your website and they're just browsing for a bit. They're not completely sold on the product. Their mouse just starts to go towards that X button. Right before they exit, you can trigger a pop-up that basically grabs their attention and says, something to the effect of get 10% or whatever percentage off on your next order. Try to get them into your newsletter, into your email list, and you can retarget them to capture that customer in the future. The second trigger is a post add to cart. Right? Somebody goes to your website, they're adding to their cart, but they haven't quite checked out yet, right? There's probably a reason why. They're probably price conscious, they're second guessing the price, whatever the reason may be. You can hit them with a pop-up as soon as they add to cart and they're kind of on the fence and say something like, here's X percentage off to seal the deal. Super effective, and we've tested this a ton. The last example is a scroll dip trigger. So this is where you can use tools like Microsoft Clarity to see how far are people scrolling on your website. And you basically want to identify where are people losing interest the most, whether it's browsing one of your product pages, looking at your categories, or even just reading the product description. So for example, if your data shows that, 50% of people drop off when they're reading a product description, that's when you can hit them with the pop-up and say something like, need help deciding? Here's 10% off to make that easier. So it's helping them re-engage into conversion action and make that decision a lot more seamless. So to reiterate, you're probably going to see a lot less people seeing your pop-up in the first place, but the sales and conversions are ultimately going to increase, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. Trick number 6 is a little more counterintuitive, but it's one of those things that simply just makes sense. And on a side note, it's something that's actually applicable to everything in life, whether that's business, marketing, etc. This trick is to actually reduce the number of items on your page. So you go to a restaurant and you open up the menu, right? And you're just presented with a ton of options. You have the desserts on one side, you have the appetizers on the other, you have the main course meals. There's just way too many options and you have no idea what decision to make. Your website is the exact same thing. If you have a cluttered navigation, you have too many elements on the page, too much text, people just don't know where to go. They're going to get completely overwhelmed. We call this the paradox of choice, which basically says that when you give people too much choice, it equals no choice at all. And so sometimes removing elements from your page can actually help to increase sales and conversions. Let me show you exactly what to look for and to remove. So one of the first things is to look at your product pages and see what product options and bundles are you presenting to users, and is there any opportunity to consolidate that and present less options to them and make the decision process a lot easier for them as well. You're trying to reduce unnecessary elements on the page. Here's a great example that we did for Wildman Drinking. As you can see in the before version here, there's 5 different bundle options. You have the 1-pack, the 2-pack, 3-pack, 5-pack, and the 10-pack. And what we saw was we watched recordings of users actually go on the bundle section of the product page, and they would select either the lower priced options, so the 1-pack or the 2-pack, or they would just completely exit the website altogether. And so we had a simple hypothesis, which was maybe there's too many options here. Let's try to cut down from 5 options to 3, and let's see what happens. What ended up happening was not only did we see a 53% lift in the conversion rate, but we also saw a 13.5% increase in the average order value. So just by cutting down from 5 options to these 3 options, the 1-pack, 3-pack, 5-pack, not only did more people purchase products, but they also went for the higher priced options as a result, just by cutting options. Another big mistake a lot of brands will make is they'll have way too many navigation items. Like, look at this website here. There's so many items to choose from. I just don't know where to start my journey and where to actually click. We typically see diminishing returns anywhere above 7 items, right? So you want to try to keep your navigation items less than 7, and the less the better, right? So use a tool like Microsoft Clarity and see where people are clicking on your heat maps. Any navigation items where people aren't clicking, just get rid of it. Here's another example from an audit that we actually do for our clients, and this is for Sumiche, where if you look at their product page, right, on the right-hand side, these are all of the different options here, and all of the different components on their product page, which you can see gets less than 1% of clicks. So this button got 0.21% of clicks. This one here got 0%. There's 0.08, 0.08 again, 0.92. The vast majority of these elements were not even getting clicks, right? So again, simple hypothesis. Why do we need all these elements on the page? Let's just remove the clutter and get rid of unnecessary elements. And what we saw as a result of that and several other changes was a 60% increase in monthly online orders for Sumiche lifts. Now to change gears, trick number 7 is one of those complete no-brainers and just one of those things that simply makes sense to implement. And it can single-handedly boost conversions by upwards of 90% in some cases. And that is strategic bundling and price anchoring. I come across so many websites where they're just selling a single product and that's all they do on the page, right? They have that single product, the user can buy it, and they're just leaving a ton of money on the table. You can easily encourage customers to spend more money on your website by simply bundling your products together and offering it at a bulk discount, or bundling related items together to make the perceived value a lot higher. Here's how to use psychology to make your higher priced items a lot more attractive. So the first thing is creating strategic product bundles. Like for example, if you're in the skincare space, you might want to, combine a cleanser, a moisturizer, and a serum all into one package. Basically increase that perception and you can charge a much higher price because you're bundling everything in together. I think iRestore Laser does a great job of this, where you can see that they're bundling these two products here and highlighting the 2-step hair regrowth kit, and they're showing the amount of savings that you get. Also, you have all of these other add-on options here. Complete your hair growth kit. So you have your warranty, you have these different options. And again, you're just getting people to order and spend a lot more money on your website. Another big tip and strategy is to not make your users do math. Make the savings on your bundles super clear and try to spell it out loud for your customers as well. So here's an A/B test we ran for Wildman Drinking. We had the 1-pack, 3-pack, and 5-pack. And if you look underneath these options, you can see the percentage savings, right? So 3-pack, you're saving 10%, 5-pack, you're saving 20%. But it's not super clear what the savings are. What we did in the after version, super simple test, was instead of putting it in the body text, we actually put the savings in the headline itself, right? So you have 3-pack, save $10, 5-pack, save $20. And what we saw as a result of this, running this A/B test, was we saw a 25% increase in the conversion rate. And we also saw a 28.57% increase in the revenue per user. So super huge results from such a simple test. We also ran this other A/B test for Wildman Drinking on the bundle page again, and this was using two main strategies, right? So the first strategy is price anchoring, and price anchoring is pretty simple. Basically, all you're trying to think about is you're increasing the relative price for customers such that the perception of the product seems to be a lot higher, right? So you can see here, we have the 1-pack, which is $19.99, the 3-pack, which is $49.99, and the 5-pack, which is $79.99, right? And these are all of the prices here. Pay attention to the compare at price, right? So the original price of the 3-pack is $59, and the 5-pack price was $99.99. So what we did in the after version was we bumped up all of the original prices. And what we also did was bump up the savings as a result. So the price has been kept the same, but what we're doing is we're increasing the original price and we're also increasing the savings. It just gets perceived as a much higher value deal. People think they're getting a steal and they're getting better value for money, even though all we did was increase the compare at price. So that's how price anchoring works, and it was super effective. The second strategy we used is what we call the middle option bias, which is that people tend to always gravitate towards the middle option because it just feels safe or balanced as compared to the other two extremes. In the before version, we had 1-pack, 3-pack, 5-pack. The 3-pack, you'd save $10. The 5-pack, you'd save $20. In the after version, what we did was we made the difference between the 1-pack and the 3-pack $20 in savings. You're saving $20 incrementally by buying the 3-pack, but you're also saving $20 incrementally by getting the 5-pack. Historically, we knew that people didn't tend to buy the 5-pack a ton. It would be more of a rare scenario because they didn't really want to overcommit, or they didn't really have a need to buy that many units. But the 3-pack is a pretty common scenario because you'd buy it for, 2 of your friends with this particular product. So we wanted to gravitate people towards there. People thought they were getting a really good deal because the 3-pack, they're saving the same amount as if they would buy a 5-pack relative to the 3-pack, right? So they're saving $20 in either case. That's what ended up happening. Our hypothesis ended up proving correct. So people gravitated towards the 3-pack. And for the results for that, we saw an 11.74% increase in the conversion rate and also a roughly 5% increase in both the average order value and the revenue per visitor. And just with those things, you can increase your sales a ton. So don't be one of those people who underestimates the amount of testing you can do with this. Play around with it a little. Real quick, if you found any of this useful so far, just take a second to hit subscribe. I'll be posting more content like this on a regular basis, so if you want to stay on top of all of the top CRO strategies, being subscribed is the best way to do that. Trick number 8 is something that a lot of people know when it comes to sales or UGC or personal branding, but not a lot of people might know when it comes to e-commerce and other forms of business, which is that people buy from those that they know, like, and trust. So this makes it a complete no-brainer to humanize your brand. Here's how to instantly do that. One easy way is just adding team photos and stories to your website where people can really build that connection about, who your brand is, what your mission is, and what your story actually is. Another powerful way is to do behind the scenes content, right? Show the story of your brand, how it started, take people on that user journey. And again, it's going to just make your brand a lot more relatable and connected to your audience. And then customer success stories are super huge. Having videos of people using your products, talking about why they like your product and how it also benefits their day-to-day lives just builds a lot of authenticity and trust. The last big tip is to use conversational copy and talk to your customer as if they're your friend. This is going to make your brand a lot more relatable and a lot more approachable as well. Now, this trick is obviously a lot harder to track as opposed to something like an email pop-up trigger, but I can promise you that it will go a long way in terms of people connecting with your brand and also subsequently converting on your website. Now, trick number 9 is a little bit more technical, but just like the last trick, it plays into human psychology. This concept in conversion optimization is called FUDs, fear, uncertainty, doubts. This can be from being burned in the past or just customers are generally very socially aware and conscious when they're visiting websites these days, right? We operate in a trust economy where everyone is so conscious about where they're giving their money, what brands they're deciding to purchase from, and ultimately what brands they actually trust. So here's how to systematically reduce fear, uncertainty, and doubts on your website. The first would be money back guarantees. Highlighting your return policy and what happens if somebody's not happy with your products is a great way to reduce the anxiety around buying. Security badges are also a great way to tell customers that their data is safe and that all of their payment and transaction data is secure as well. Then you also have clear shipping information, which tells customers what they can actually expect as far as their shipping is concerned and when they're going to receive their product. And the last big thing is having transparent pricing. Everybody hates surprises, especially when it comes to online shopping. So you'd rather show your pricing upfront and try to get rid of any hidden costs to avoid surprises later down the road and people dropping off and not converting. A pro tip is to place your reduction of FUDs at the critical point of action, right? So these are the most important areas of your site. So typically that's going to be your add to cart button, your homepage above the fold, etc. It's often the little things like these that make a big difference for your conversion rate and really tend to add up over time. So go through your funnel and landing page and simply just ask yourself, what would I want to know before I would buy this product? Coming in at number 10, we have something that's like a cousin to visual hierarchy, but has very big distinctions. And that is making your content design scannable. Because you have to keep this in mind. Unless your user's been sucked into a long, engaging sales letter, the vast majority of people do not read, they scan. As I mentioned before, the human brain processes images so much faster than it processes text. So you really need to make your product descriptions and every aspect of your product page and your website for that matter to be very easily scannable. So here's a couple ways on how to make your content scanner friendly. The first big way is using bullet points and icons, right? Instead of having these large blocks of text, cut it down, use icons, use bullet points where possible. It's going to make it a lot easier for users to digest. This is something that we've A/B tested so many times and seen huge increases in conversions as a result. The next big thing is implementing clear subheadings. So you're going to take your large block of text and think about how can I categorize this further and dissect it further into subheadings and subcategories. So users can just get a high level overview and find exactly what they're looking for. And whenever applicable, you always want to use bolding and highlighting to highlight specific elements that you want to emphasize on the page. page. Finally, for trick number 11, we have a bit of an anti-trick, but this is something you should always be doing and always be looking to improve upon, and that is A/B testing the hell out of everything. Landing pages are never one and done, right? There's a reason that Amazon runs over 12,000 experiments every single year. And there's also a reason that we have several clients that are converting at 5 to 6%, which is already well above average, but we're still doing A/B testing to get more increases in conversions and squeeze every bit of conversion and revenue that we can. So here's a simple framework for testing everything that we've covered. The first thing is starting with elements that are the most important. We actually use a framework at our agency called the PXL framework, which is basically where we're able to categorize all of our different hypotheses and prioritize each one based on the highest impact and the lowest effort. The next big thing is focusing on testing one element at a time so you actually know what's driving change, right? If you test way too many things at once, you won't actually know what's actually contributing to your conversion rate positively and which ones are contributing negatively. The other big mistake is that people run their tests for too short. You need to run your tests long enough for a particular cycle. Typically, that's going to be a minimum of 2 weeks. And you also want to make sure that your results are statistically significant. The last big thing is to make sure you document and learn from all of your tests. That includes your winning test and your losing test, right? Understand what drove the test to win, what drove the test to lose, and then use that for every subsequent test. I can't tell you how much insight we've gotten from losing tests and then had a series of winning tests thereafter. It really creates a snowball effect and momentum, and it's going to do wonders for your conversion rate. So now you can go and implement all of these things yourself, and you should see an immediate lift in your sales and your conversion rate. But in a video like this, I didn't have time to do a live audit and actually show you each trick in a lot of detail. And I couldn't show you how to implement them all, which is why I recorded this video where I did a deep dive into a pet company brand and walked through all of the improvements that I would make to their website step by step. So in that video, you can see everything that we spoke about in this video in action and all of the tricks in action as well. And it'll help you better understand what you need to do on your website to turn your conversion rates up to 11. I'll see you over there.